Hey everyone, I just finished reading the book of Ecclesiastes in Scripture, and it's such a powerful book of Scripture, and it's written by Solomon, who is the wisest man to ever live. And when reading through it, there's so much goodness and so much teaching from a man who lived his life and learned so much. But there's a particular topic in the book of Ecclesiastes that just really stood out to me. And that's this: man cannot know all of God's ways. No matter how hard he tries, no matter how hard we try, we don't know. We don't understand how God works. We don't understand everything that he does. And I love how Solomon just talks about this. And remember, this is a man who is the wisest man to ever live. And he says in chapter 8 of Ecclesiastes, starting in verse 16, he says, "When I applied my heart to know wisdom and to see the business that is done on earth, how neither day nor night do one eyes see sleep, then I saw all the work of God, that man cannot find out the work that is done under the sun. However much man may toil in seeking, he will not find it out. Even though a wise man claims to know, he cannot find it out." See, Solomon's saying that he applied himself to try to understand how God works. And even though Solomon was the wisest man to live on the earth, he couldn't figure it out. He couldn't understand. He couldn't, with his brain, comprehend how God works. He then says later in chapter 11 of Ecclesiastes, in verse 5, and I love this verse. He says, "As you do not know the way that the spirit comes to the bones in the womb of a woman with child, so you do not know the work of God who makes everything." So Solomon, so wise, he says, I don't understand, and no one really understands how the Spirit comes into someone in the womb. We don't understand just how life happens and how life gets started. And he says, in that same way, neither do you, or neither does anyone fully comprehend how the Lord works. You know, God speaks to us, and there are times, many times, where he can reveal things to us. And that's great. He can reveal it to us through his word and how he works in certain situations. Or he could talk to us with his words. Or he could talk to us in a vision, in a dream, through someone coming with a prophetic word. And even though that's great, and even though we can learn from him at times, there's just some things that we don't know. That even if we try to understand with all our might, we still won't understand. And in reading Ecclesiastes, my mind was brought back to a man of God named Job. And Job, he was afflicted, and he didn't know why he was being afflicted. He had loss in his family. He lost his wealth. He was physically harmed, and he didn't understand. And he called out to God, and he's like, I don't understand. If I've done anything wrong, let me know. And then God answers him. God says in Job chapter 38, "Who is this that darkens counsel by words without knowledge?" You see, Job didn't understand how God worked. And sometimes in my life, I just want to understand. I just want to know, God, why are you doing this? God, why are you allowing this to happen? God, why is this happening to my family? God, why is this happening to our nation? And I sit there and I just focus on, I want to know why. I want to understand. And though that's okay, I think that the better response is the same response that Solomon had at the very end of Ecclesiastes. the very last two verses of Ecclesiastes, Solomon says this: "The end of the matter, all has been heard. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man." See, Solomon's finished his Proverbs. He's finished this book of Ecclesiastes. He's finished talking about how he sought after certain things, how he sought after wisdom and understanding everything of God. But then he concluded that what really matters is that we should fear God and obey what he says. We should have a respect for God and obey him. So can I encourage you today, no matter where you're at in life, you may be seeking for an understanding and a revelation on a specific topic, and that's okay. But can I encourage you that what we must do as Christians is we must simply respect what God's saying and follow him.